Begin with developing news. Underworld figures Sam the Punisher Abdul Rahim.
Sam the Punisher Abdul Rahim.
Sam Abdul Rahim.
Sam Abdul Rahim.
Sam Abdul Rahim.
Sam Abdul Rahim, better known as the Punisher, has become a notorious figure in Melbourne's brutal underworld, a world where loyalty is rare and violence is a way of life. At just 32, he holds a title no one would envy, the most hunted man in the city's crime scene. His life has been a wild mix of crime, survival, and danger, filled with assassination attempts, prison time, and run-ins with the law. From his early days rolling with bikee gangs to his later career as a professional boxer, Sam's story is anything but ordinary. He's been living on the edge for years, constantly dodging enemies, with a staggering $1 million bounty on his head. Every day is a gamble, a high-stakes fight to stay alive. This video takes a deep dive into the rise and dangerously unpredictable life of Sam the Punisher Abdul Rahim, a man who seems to be at war with both fate and his endless list of enemies. A rough start in Melbourne's north. Sam grew up in Melbourne's northern suburbs, an area deeply influenced by Middle Eastern crime families and outlaw bikee gangs. From an early age, he was surrounded by the harsh realities of street life. In his world, gang ties weren't just common, they were expected. And unlike some who tried to stay on the sidelines, Sam dove headfirst into the action. He wasn't content being just another player. He wanted power, respect, and a fast-paced life. His love for high-speed cars, risky living, and his notoriously short temper made him stand out from the crowd. His criminal journey started small, petty theft, minor drug deals. But by the time he hit his 20s, he was rubbing shoulders with some of Melbourne's most feared bikee and Middle Eastern crime syndicates. And it didn't take long for the violence to follow. The courthouse showdown. One of the most infamous moments in Sam's rise to underworld infamy happened in 2015, outside the Melbourne Magistrates Court. In a dramatic showdown, Sam came to blows with rival kickboxer Omar Badi. It wasn't just a fight. It was a full-blown street brawl that put a spotlight on the growing tensions between Melbourne's Middle Eastern gangs. Shirtless and bloodied, Sam was led away in handcuffs as cameras snapped away. The fight didn't just make headlines, it cemented his reputation as a major player in Melbourne's crime world. Law enforcement started watching him more closely, and in the underworld, his name carried even more weight. But with notoriety came new dangers, more enemies, more risks, and a target on his back that only grew bigger. The crash that changed everything. While Sam was no stranger to street fights and crime, it was a tragic car crash in 2015 that truly changed how the public saw him. In the early hours of October 25th, he was behind the wheel of his Ferrari 360 Spider, flying through the streets of Reservoir at dangerous speeds. But his reckless joyride took a devastating turn when he lost control and slammed head-on into another vehicle. The crash killed 88-year-old great-grandmother Muriel Hewitt and left 10 others injured. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the city, not just because of the lives lost and the injuries, but because of the way Sam reportedly reacted. Witnesses described him as cold and indifferent, showing little to no remorse for the devastation he had caused. The incident didn't just make headlines. It made people question what kind of man Sam really was. Was he just another reckless criminal who didn't care who got hurt along the way? Or was he someone who had lost control of a life that was always destined to be chaotic? One thing was certain: Sam. The Punisher Abdul Rahim was no longer just another underworld figure. He had become one of the most talked about names in Melbourne's crime scene. And with enemies everywhere and $1 million price on his head, survival was now the only game that mattered. Sam Abdul Rahim's reputation as a villain only grew after the tragic crash. It was all over the media, painting him as reckless and dangerous. And unsurprisingly, the law came down hard on him. He was hit with serious charges, including culpable driving causing death. But did that slow him down? Not at all. Even while out on bail, Sam kept pushing the limits. More driving offenses, more drug-related activities. He was deep in the underworld, and he wasn't looking back. Eventually, he got caught with a whopping 138 grams of ice, sealing his fate even further. You'd think the crash might have been a wake-up call, a moment to rethink his choices. Instead, it did the opposite. It sent him spiraling even deeper into crime. Climbing the ranks of the underworld. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more about Australia's criminal underworld, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Sam's rise in the underworld wasn't just about street fights and reckless behavior. He knew the importance of alliances. He initially found protection with some of the biggest outlaw motorcycle clubs, including the Bandidos and later, the Mongols. These connections gave him power and resources, but they also came with a price: constant feuds and dangerous enemies. One of the most important and volatile relationships in his early days was with Nabil Magni, a feared crime boss known for drug trafficking, extortion, and violence. Magni took Sam under his wing, offering him protection and guidance in the cutthroat world of organized crime. But like many underworld friendships, things didn't stay smooth for long. A betrayal at Crown Casino. By 2016, cracks had already started forming between Sam and Magni. The tipping point, a brawl at Crown Casino. Magni believed Sam had failed to back him up during the fight, and in their world, that was enough to start a war. Then came the murder of Kadir KD. Or a close associate of the powerful Hamid crime family. Or was gunned down in an Office Works car park in Campbellfield, a calculated hit that shook Melbourne's underworld. While rival gangster George Morogi was eventually convicted for the killing, whispers swirled about Sam's involvement. Court documents suggested he played a role in setting Orr up, though Sam denied it all, even testifying in court. But the damage was done. The powerful Hamad family, led by Kazem, Kaz Hamad, and Ahmed Al-Hamza, were convinced Sam was responsible. And in their world, that meant only one thing: revenge. A deadly feud begins. After Orr's murder, Sam's life turned into a never-ending game of survival. When he was released from prison in 2019, after serving time for the Ferrari crash, his enemies wasted no time coming after him. Within days of his release, his family home was hit in a drive-by shooting, and that was just the beginning. Over the next several months, his family, associates, and businesses were all caught in the crossfire, literally. There were shootings, firebombings, and violent ambushes, all orchestrated by the Hamad family and other enemies looking to take him out. The attacks didn't stop. His panel-beating business got shot up multiple times, and his family's properties were repeatedly set on fire. It was clear his enemies weren't just trying to scare him, they wanted him dead, nowhere to hide. With $1 million bounty on his head and hitmen constantly after him, Sam was living like a fugitive. He bounced between hotels, trying to stay one step ahead of his would-be assassins. But no matter where he went, the violence followed. Desperate for some kind of safety, Sam actually ended up back in prison after his parole was revoked. But even behind bars, he wasn't safe. The moment he stepped into Loddon prison, he was ambushed. A group of inmates attacked him with a rock, leaving him seriously injured. It was a brutal reminder. Whether inside prison or out on the streets, there was no escaping the war he had found himself in. His enemies were relentless, and as long as he was alive, the hunt wouldn't stop. A marked man. By 2020, Sam Abdul Rahim's life had become a never-ending cycle of violence, revenge, and survival. With enemies everywhere, he wasn't just being hunted by rival criminals. Law enforcement was also watching his every move. It felt like only a matter of time before either the cops or a hitman caught up with him. Amidst the chaos, Sam found an unlikely escape: boxing. The sport gave him a sense of purpose, a shot at something bigger than street wars and gang feuds. With his natural athleticism and fighting instincts, he threw himself into training, determined to build a new identity. In 2019, he decided to go all in, pursuing a professional boxing career. It seemed like a fresh start, a rare opportunity to rewrite his future. And for a while, it worked. Sam quickly gained recognition in the boxing community, proving himself in the ring. He even claimed the title of Victorian State Cruiserweight Champion, a major accomplishment that hinted at a different path, one that didn't end in bloodshed or prison. For the first time in years, it looked like Sam might actually leave his criminal past behind. Trouble always follows. But as always, trouble wasn't far behind. Boxing may have given him a distraction, but it couldn't shield him from his enemies. Instead of keeping a low profile, Sam bragged about his success on social media, flashing his wealth and drawing even more attention. Old feuds reignited, and law enforcement kept a close eye on his every move, both inside and outside the ring. Then came the legal battle. After his parole was revoked in 2019, Sam didn't just accept it. He sued the Victorian government, claiming his imprisonment was unlawful. The lawsuit made headlines, with Sam trying to paint himself as a victim of government overreach. But while the case gave him media attention, it didn't do much to help his already precarious situation. A target with no protection. By early 2021, things took a serious turn for the worse. Sam was expelled from the Mongols Motorcycle Club, a brutal blow that left him completely exposed. Without the club's protection, he was an open target for the Hamad family and other enemies who had been waiting for their chance to strike. And things only escalated from there. As part of Operation Ironside, a massive law enforcement crackdown on organized crime, police uncovered detailed assassination plots against Sam. His enemies weren't just thinking about taking him out. They were actively making plans to eliminate him for good. The assassination attempt. The first real attempt on his life happened on June 25, 2022. Sam had just left his cousin's funeral, driving in a procession of cars outside Faulkner Cemetery, when the attack went down. Gunmen ambushed him, unloading a hail of bullets into his car. 8 shots tore into his body, but somehow, against all odds, Sam survived. But if there was one thing this attack made clear, it was this. The people hunting him weren't giving up anytime soon. The daylight ambush. The broad daylight shooting was a shock to everyone. It wasn't just another Underworld hit, it was a brazen, no-holds-barred assassination attempt. Sam Abdul Rahim was gunned down in the streets, taking 8 bullets to the chest, abdomen, and leg. Miraculously, he survived. Police quickly linked the attack to 3 young men, 2 18-year-olds and a 19-year-old, all connected to Ahmed Al-Hamza's crew. But the mastermind, Al-Hamza himself, managed to slip away, fleeing Australia for the Middle East, where he was rumored to be running a drug trafficking empire. With Melbourne's Underworld closing in on him, Sam knew he had to make a move, fleeing to Thailand. By late 2022, he decided to take his boxing career overseas, heading to Bangkok, Thailand, for a highly publicized fight. The trip wasn't just about sports, it was a chance to reinvent himself, to escape the relentless violence that had swallowed his life back home. But staying out of trouble wasn't that simple. While in Thailand, Sam aligned himself with Brothers for Life, a notorious Sydney-based crime syndicate. It wasn't just about making friends, it was a strategic move. With the Al-Hamza and Hamad gangs still hunting him, Sam needed serious backup. At the time, Sydney's underworld was in chaos. The Al-Nasher family had been weakened, and the Hadara family had lost control of the lucrative black market cigarette trade due to relentless attacks from the Hamad crew. This power vacuum gave Sam the perfect opportunity to seek protection from Brothers for Life, who, despite their own struggles, were still a force to be reckoned with. But even miles away from Melbourne, his past refused to let go, targeting his loved ones. Since they couldn't get to Sam, his enemies started going after his family and associates. The violence escalated fast. Fire bombings, arson attacks, and shootings became routine. A gym where his nephew, fighting under the name Punisher Jr., was training, was set on fire. A business linked to one of Sam's close associates was torched. A beauty salon owned by a relative was also targeted. His childhood home in Thomastown was burned down. Then, in May 2024, things took a darker turn. His parents' 2 cars were set on fire outside their home, a clear warning. Soon after, an assassination attempt unfolded. 2 masked gunmen lay in wait near the walls of Sam's gated home, ready to gun him down when he rushed to check on his parents. The second he drove out, they opened fire. 17 bullets sprayed his way. Amazingly, not a single one hit him. If that wasn't enough, another hit squad had been waiting for him at a relative's house nearby, but they also failed to take him out. Where is Sam Abdul Rahim now? These days, Sam, the Punisher. Abdul Rahim is a ghost. His social media presence has faded, a stark contrast to the flashy, bragging persona he once had. Every move he makes is calculated, careful, and paranoid. He knows there are too many eyes on him, both from law enforcement and the underworld. Where is he now? No one knows for sure. Some say he's left Melbourne for good, possibly hiding elsewhere in Australia or even overseas. Others believe he's laying low, waiting for the heat to die down. And then there are whispers that he's strategically aligning himself with powerful figures, offering his loyalty in exchange for protection. One thing's certain, he's still a marked man. With a $1 million bounty on his head, his enemies aren't backing down. They won't stop until he's dead. The Hamad and Al Hamza families aren't letting up. Their thirst for revenge is as strong as ever, fueling a never-ending cycle of violence. No matter how far Sam Abdul Rahim runs, the war isn't over, not by a long shot. From a reckless teenager to one of Melbourne's most feared underworld figures, Sam's life has been one long, bloody battle for power and respect. But at what cost? Betrayal, prison, endless assassination attempts. Every chapter of his story is marked by violence and survival. Yet, somehow, he's still here, dodging bullets, outsmarting enemies, escaping death. His ability to navigate the treacherous world of organized crime is a mix of street smarts, sheer luck, and pure survival instinct. But the real question is, how much longer can he keep this up? Melbourne's underworld has no mercy. Loyalty is temporary, and enemies, they're forever. As Sam fights to stay ahead, his choices continue to shake the criminal landscape, leaving behind a legacy of chaos, bloodshed, and fear. One thing is clear, in this world, power never lasts, and sooner or later, everyone pays the price.